Hey everyone, I'm Kratik. I'm one of the founding contributors at Renzo. We're one of the first liquid restaking protocols launched on Eigenlayer almost 10 months back. Since then, we launched on Symbiotic. Now we're launching on GeroSoul. Um, 150 plus integrations, $1 billion in TVL, and 8 different chains, all thanks to our partners at Everclear. So we're one of the first, or rather, if not the first, then one of the first chain abstracted dApps, and I wanted to share about the approach that we've had and our experience working with chain abstracted products. All right. So problem number one that we identified with restaking almost a year back is everyone wants to restake and everyone was excited about all these services being built on Eigenlayer. Um, And all these services, the middleware services that Eigenlayer essentially either incubating or housing or building in house or encouraging were powerful middleware services that were supposed to service or that are supposed to service rollups. So these are data availability, shared sequencing, interoperability, oracles, etc. So all of these are supposed to um, help service rollups. And the Ethereum roadmap is also heavily rollup centric. By the way, before I go forward, if I think this is a fairly intimate setting, so if you have any questions, anything, feel free to stop me anytime. I'm here to answer any questions. Anyway, so as I was saying, restaking is supposed to help encourage and push forward the Ethereum L2 slash rollup roadmap. Um, but as we build these successful middleware services, there is a catch 22 when it comes to restaking. And that is like, what do rollups eventually want at the end of the day? Like, what are the two most successful metrics or KPIs that every rollup is targeting? Any guesses here? No. TVL, yes. Volume and users. Exactly. So TVL users and volume and TVL are similar, but yeah, these three are the most important metrics that any rollup is targeting to maximize for. But the problem is, the more successful these middleware services are on Eigenlayer, the higher is the rewards, the juicy rewards on mainnet, and the more capital you attract and essentially like rob from the very rollups that you mean to serve, right? So this is where the alignment breaks, right? You wanna help service rollups, you wanna build rollups, but the more successful you are on mainnet, you're gonna attract more TVL on mainnet, and you rollups are gonna be left without TVL or without users. The more successful restaking gets, right? And we identified that, and we wanted to solve for this. It's not rocket science. Like it's a very clear alignment problem, and according to us, like the only way that we could have solved this is we enable restaking from rollups itself. Now, now restaking only exists on mainnet. So this means we need infrastructure to help restake from rollups. And also the fact that a lot of rollups we're trying to push for incentives, we're trying to push for the token incentives points, other fancy ways of incentivize users. And so these rollups also wanted to attract the same people that was supposed to go. That was like trying to attract Wagner and kind of like stack the incentives on top of each other. So anyway, so now that we've talked about the catch 22 with peace taking, we reached out to the team at Everclear. We reached out to Wagner, um, formerly Everclear, formerly Connects, and we're like, all right, how do we end up solving this? So this is the solution that we came up with. Essentially, we build smart contracts on top of rollups, EVM rollups, L2s, that accepts ETH deposits. We take that ETH on smart contracts, patch it together, bridge it back to mainnet, while at the same time, we also mint an LRT on top of the L2, natively on the L2. Um, and while at the same time, the ETH is getting bridged back to mainnet, this ETH then gets deposited in Eigenlayer smart contracts via Renzo smart contracts. We mint the LRT on mainnet, deposit that in the XERC20 smart contract or logbox to complete the loop. And what you get at the end of the day is you get ETH restaked from L2s users on L2s being able to restake their TVL without L2s losing that TVL or users or volume in the first place, doing complex DeFi on the rollups, but at the same time, they're getting benefits of restaking. The other problem it solves is the alignment problem. L2s that are using services for that are being restaked, so DA, shared sequencing, etc. Users can, so the community of the rollups can benefit or reap the benefits of restaking while at the same time being on top of that rollup, securing these services that are helping the rollup, but at the same time being an active user of the rollup. And that was the important alignment problem that we solved with native ETH restaking on L2s, also known as restake from anywhere module that we working with Connexpo. What's the impact of that? We got $1.2 billion, or rather $1.5 billion in TVL, 700,000 users. Now, it's debatable whether it's users or wallets, and fully aware of that. But uh, regardless, we got 700,000 users um, on L2s. We started this in February, uh, expanded to 8 different chains, all big rollups that you can think of. Um, so TVL users, volume, we solved all of that. And now the question is like, how do we make users like even more easier, right? And this is where we started working on batching transactions on Everclear. Um, what this means, so right now, okay, so when restaking was at its peak in March, February, you were essentially paying $120 to $150 in gas to restake Bitcoin, right? So this was a major problem because, well, the more successful you are with restaking, the higher the gas costs are going to be. And this is going to skew your users, especially if the yield is not juicy enough, it's going to skew the users to only large players over this, right? Um, Effectively, what we were doing with L2s is we identified that most L2 users are um, not like the average transaction is less than $100, right? So we started with the restaking module that we built on L2s. We started batching transactions every 12 hours or after it hits a certain dollar, such that the average transaction fees gets distributed uniformly across all users. And the impact of that was you could restake from L2s with a fraction of the cost, like sometimes even 2% of the cost that you were paying on mainnet. Now you're gonna think right now it's not big of a problem because well, gas is like very great on Ethereum, but well, at some point it's gonna be more than 100, and we're gonna need ways for people to restake without paying immense gas fees. Um, so there were even instances where people were bridging from mainnet to L2s, and and restaking from there because it was so much more cheaper than actually like restaking from mainnet itself. Now, then, okay, so this was the TVL. This was the growth of Easy in general, um, and uh, and I'm gonna go back to what chain abstraction means to Renzo. So already talked about alignment, but the last part is chain agnostic restaking. So the vision with chain abstraction is users should be able to restake. Oh, all right. So users should be able to use or do their activities from any chain, regardless of where they are. And at times, users don't even need to know which chain they're on. If you want to do action A, you should be able to do action A regardless of what's the best chain for it, without knowing what the underlying chain you're using, right? Um, in the context of restaking for L2s, I think the next step is interoperable easy ETH. So effectively, you should be able to move from any chain A to any chain B to any chain C within seconds without having to bridge back to mainnet. And this is a major problem with a lot of investors that came before us and tried cross-chain restaking. Cross-chain tokens is that you transfer token A from mainnet to any L2, but then you also let's say L2A, and then you transfer to L2B, and then you transfer to L2C. But then if you want to go from L2A to L2B to L2C, you're gonna have to go back to mainnet and then to L2B, and then again mainnet, and then to L2C, because there is no interoperability, naturally, like a common token standard across all these L2s. So this is what we're trying to solve here. We wanted Easy ETH to not just be a cross-chain product, but we wanted it to be a cross-chain interoperable product uh, with a common token standard across all L2s, such that users can go from any L2A to L2B via Easy ETH. But then also, you could also go from any shitcoin on any chain that we're integrated with to any other shitcoin on any other chain that we're integrated with Easy, right? So if you have uh, ball on base and you have ball now you want like WIF on Polygon, Wi-Fi on Polygon, you could go to Connect. So you could in fact like you could even go to any other chain aggregator product and you enter these shitcoins. Uh, for the lack of a better word, I'm going to call it shitcoins. But if you want to go from this shitcoin on chain A to another shitcoin on chain B, your aggregator will take you via Easy because Easy ETH is the largest, most liquid interoperable token and the largest implementation of interoperable token standards across all entities. So super proud of that. And this is what chain agnostic restaking means to us. And chain agnostic chain abstraction means to us is we don't just want to service our users, but we also want Easy ETH to be the like central token that people can go from one way to another, right? Um, that's what chain abstraction is with us, but we're not stopping here. There are more steps. Uh, alright. so I think we all recognize that we're still in early stages of cross-chain interoperability, chain abstraction, intents, etc. There is a long way to go from here. Although we have solved a lot of problems so far, we're still not at the end of the journey yet. The journey stops when users realistically can join and interact on blockchains without knowing with chains without even connecting their with changing their RPCs or changing their rollup that they're connected to or even like doing anything complex. Like it should feel as easy as it feels with Web2 when you're using Venmo or when you're using Revolut, like regardless of which country you guys are in, like I'm sure you must have used some Web2 application, um, tracked by Web2 application that you're inspired by, and this is what we want to build at Renzo. We want to give people a platform where they can restake with all abstraction, with everything abstracted underneath, right? So with I think Intense is like uh, uh, definitely like the next step um, when it comes to restaking, especially or like any cross-chain stuff, especially because um, it's I like my personal analogy is like, look, regardless of whether you're a passive AMM Pro Maxi or whether you support the curve model or the V2 Uniswap V2 model, like it's inevitable that at the end of the day, the most practical and efficient way is order books at the end of the day. So I think like Intense in a way is especially with the settlement layer, like we're not reinventing the wheel. Like we've seen this in ChartFi multiple times, multiple cycles over and over. The most efficient way um, um, of abstracting away any transaction was building a core underlying settlement layer, or clearing layer, and effectively routing our transactions through that. So with Intense, the next step for Renzo is um, reduce cost for cross-chain restaking by another 100x. Um, this will scale as more users come in. This will scale as we have more both sides of a bridge being used by users. So essentially, if user wants to go from chain A to chain B and user two wants to go from chain B to chain A, we effectively cancel that, and there are no real transactions happening. So this would reduce gas costs. Like this is one example where we reduce gas costs by another 100x. With infrastructure like Intense, Everclear that we're building, I think there's a real possibility of actually reducing costs by 100x. Um, for restaking. So that's a B is end-to-end restaking flow on rollups. Now, why is this important? Is right now the example that I gave you over here. Uh, so if you notice, there is only one side of the flow. It's the deposit. So you can only restake. You cannot unrestake. uh, easily with the current infrastructure that we have. So for right now, if you want to unrestake, you're going to have to bridge back to mainnet and effectively do the same, effectively unrestake the same way people are unrestaking on mainnet, right? Um, so the module that we're building next is completing the flow. No. So what we're building next is completing the flow here, where users should be able to unrestake from rollups itself. And the way that we build this is the biggest problem is Eigenlayer is securing all these ABSs, and all these ABSs are giving yield in ERC20 tokens. These ERC20 tokens may or may not exist on L2s. That's a big problem. That's why even if you were to open withdrawals on L2s, it's technically impossible because the yield is in ERC20s that don't exist on L2s, right? So the way that we solve this problem for unrestaking on L2s is we open up intents marketplaces where users can post their intents. I want to unrestake, let's say, 20 easy ETH on Arbitrum, and the other side of the transaction is picked up by the solvers, market makers, even users who want to deposit, let's say, um, who are willing to pay for 20 easy ETH in ETH or any other stablecoin or whatever token of their preference, and um, then the transaction is settled on L2 itself. So even without touching mainnet, you will be able to unrestake on L2s. And this is the next model that we're building. It feels pretty obvious in hindsight, but when we were building, there were like 200 designs to choose from. And the more we thought about this, the more it made sense. Not just as the design itself, but also giving users the choice to unrestake. Uh, Today, people cannot even forget like staking or restaking. Today, users cannot even stake or unstake like the core Ethereum functionality from L2s, right? And the best you can do is buy wrapped STETH on Arbitrum, but then you cannot like send it across to Optimism without like spending tons of money to do that. Like. So yeah, these are all the problems in the current landscape for cross-chain staking and restaking, and it's a pleasure to be working with our partners. Um, and I'm super excited for what's coming next.
Amazing, everyone. And Kratik, thank you so much. Renzo is a project that's really near and dear to our heart. We helped on kind of like the chain abstracted experience, and I think it's a really bullish indicator to see such a huge influx of TVL and users, and so very excited to see what's next for you guys.